Giving a second chance. Plus, Cirque du Soleil is coming to Worcester with a brand new creation. The show Crystal explores artistic limits on ice for the first time. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Olivia Lemon. Worcester police on scene of a gun manufacturing shop Wednesday after an employee accidentally shoots himself. An employee of Car Arms suffered a minor hand injury and was brought to the hospital. According to scanner reports, the shooting happened around 3 p.m. Police were on scene of the Goddard Memorial Drive shop for a couple of hours Wednesday. Again, the shooting appears to be accidental. A Worcester attorney and former prosecutor announces he will run for Worcester County District Attorney in 2018. Attorney Blake Rubin has been a lawyer for more than 21 years and worked in the Worcester County District Attorney's office for nearly a decade. The Central Massachusetts native says his campaign is based off of transparency. He wants to transform the culture of the DA's office, where prosecutors will always be available to explain their actions and all parties will be treated equally and fairly.
Which people, which citizens need to be held in custody and which ones don't. I have a very good understanding of the opiate crisis that we're currently going through in Worcester County and throughout Massachusetts and quite frankly the entire country.
Now, Rubin is not enrolled and not a member of any party. Current Worcester County District Attorney Joseph Early Jr. has been in office since 2006, and Rubin says he believes it's time for some fresh ideas. A celebration of life Wednesday afternoon at UMass Memorial Medical Center. A 14-year-old organ transplant recipient shared her story after her kidney unexpectedly failed. The young girl and dozens of others discussed the impact donating and receiving organs has had on their lives. Our Cam Jandro joins us live now with more on tonight's celebration of life. Cam?
Yeah, Olivia, 'tis the season of giving, and what better gift than that of life? With the holidays now in full swing, organ recipients gave thanks Wednesday for the most important gift of all. Green ribbons fill UMass Memorial Medical Center, celebrating organ donors and recipients.
These people, they really get a second chance at life.
The 12th annual Gift of Life celebration recognized families and their stories of organ transplants. 14-year-old Evelyn Fantasia went through kidney failure and needed a transplant. For her, it was something she wasn't ready for.
We were shocked in the beginning because we didn't expect that randomly out of the blue a healthy kid could get sick like this. I missed a lot of school. We did a lot of blood tests, and sometimes I had to stay in the hospital for weeks.
Fantasia's body accepted her new kidney, but after going through kidney failure once, it's always on her mind.
It is possible down the road, so I just have to keep pushing forward, do what I'm supposed to do, follow the doctor's instructions, and pray for the best.
Dr. Adele Bazorgzadeh directs the transplant program for UMass Memorial Medical Center. Bazorgzadeh says there is an undeniable need for organ donors.
About 2,000 to 3,000 people die while waiting for a liver transplant. And all of that can essentially be remedied if everyone in this country who was eligible to donate could be a donor.
Now in the midst of the holiday season, he says this is the perfect time for this particular celebration.
Especially in this season of giving and in this season of celebration of hope, for them to all come back together to appreciate the gift of life.
Fantasia was one of the youngest survivors at the celebration and says positivity is the most important aspect of a transplant.
You just have to keep pushing, even when you're at your lowest point. I mean, once you're at your lowest point, there's only one way to go, and that's up.
Cam Jandro, Worcester News Tonight. Now, Fantasia says she occasionally goes to the hospital for checkups, but for the most part, she feels okay. She says going through this at such a young age has taught her some very valuable life lessons.
All right, Cam, thank you so much for that. Many cases of the flu are being reported across Massachusetts. The peak flu season is not usually until January, but as our Rosalind Flaherty explains, local doctors say this year it could come sooner, and now is the time to get vaccinated.
John Berthel got his flu shot Monday. He says he gets one every year to protect himself.
And I don't get the flu every year.
According to the Centers for Disease Control, Massachusetts is one of 4 states to report widespread flu activity. Dr. Anthony Esposito is the director of the Division of Infectious Diseases at St. Vincent Hospital. He says the peak flu season is usually January to February, but this year it could peak December into January.
People have to be aware that if they develop a bit of chilliness and a bit of a sore throat and a headache, that they may be experiencing the flu, and they need to do those things to take care of themselves.
Carewell Urgent Care in Worcester says they've already seen a number of flu and flu-like cases.
The most important is getting your flu shot every year. It helps to give you antibodies against the flu and therefore decreasing the severity and duration of how long you would get the flu for.
Researchers say the flu shot might not be as effective in fighting the illness this year. Dr. Esposito says a strain of the flu called H3N2 might not perfectly match the vaccine, but still recommends getting it.
As a result, the vaccine may not be protective against that particular strain. It turns out most of the influenza viruses that have been isolated in the state of Massachusetts thus far have been this H3N2 strain. So there's concern.
He says 1/3 of all cases of the flu are transmitted through direct contact, and there's an important step everyone can do.
Hand washing is very important this time of the year.
Rosalind Flaherty, Worcester News Tonight.
Thank you, Rosalind. A trial date is set for Holden man accused of murdering his brother in 2014. Michael Dowjat is charged with first-degree murder in the stabbing death of his 59-year-old brother, David Allen. Allen's body was discovered at his home on East County Road in Rutland back in June of 2014. At the arraignment, prosecutors said Allen suffered more than 70 stab wounds to his head and torso, and his head, arms, and legs had been severed. The trial is scheduled to start March 22nd in Worcester Superior Court. Now to Montgomery, Massachusetts. The small town's fire chief has died after collapsing while working to put out a house fire. Last night, Chief Stephen Fry was operating a hose in the back of the house, but then collapsed. He was taken to the hospital where he died. The cause of his death is not yet known. Montgomery does not have a hydrant system, so crews had to get water from tanker trucks. Residents were able to get out safely, but the house is a total loss. The Worcester City Council setting the tax rates for fiscal year 2018 Tuesday night. The new increases will affect both homeowners and businesses, but the commercial rate will see a higher jump. This leaving many business owners in the city upset. Our Brittany Schaefer has more.
2 votes.
The City Council approves a new set of tax rates, passing by a close vote, a measure where the increases will be higher for city businesses.
We make nobody happy on this vote. It's the toughest vote we take. Everybody has to pay more.
This year, I think it's very hard to make any side happy.
The average tax bill for a single-family home will go up by $118, despite a decrease in the residential tax rate from a year ago. The average business will see a $331 increase to their annual taxes after councilors supported a commercial rate increase. The owner of Framed in Tatnick, Cliff Wilson, says the increases are hurting small businesses.
It's not like the small businesses have a lot of cash running around, and we're already competing with big boxes and online stores, and it's hard enough without them hitting us with even more taxes.
Framed in Tatnick has been in Worcester for 15 years, and Wilson says he has continually seen the business tax increase.
This dual tax rate is myopic and short-term. It really needs to get to a single. We don't have a healthy community without healthy businesses.
Every year it's $1,000 raised.
John Hadley has owned North End Motor Sales since 1982 and says his taxes started at $7,000 and are now at $25,000 every year.
I own a similar property in West Boylston. Assessed the same value. The taxes there are $12,000 a year. It's amazing that they keep going up and up.
Hadley says if Worcester wants to keep its small businesses around, the constant business tax increase needs to change.
They're going to go out of business. They can't afford to pay the rent because we have no one to pass the rent on to.
It'd be nice if we get to stick around, but the more they tax us, the more it's going to hurt.
Now, Hadley says in the near future, he would like to see a single tax rate, which is something the city has been debating for years. Brittany Schaefer, Worcester News Tonight.
All right, thank you, Brittany. 74 years after its dedication, the city will unveil a World War II monument Thursday, missing for decades. The colored citizens of Worcester Honor Roll stood at the intersection of Belmont and Clayton Street until 1959, until it was torn down for the construction of Interstate 290. The monument lists the names of 145 men and women of color from Worcester who enlisted through October 1943 and served in World War II.
It was taken down to build a highway, but it was promised to be put back up and never did. But finally, 2017, December 7th, we're going to see that happen. It's very important to the community. It's very important to the country because this is the only city in the country where something like this has occurred.
And Thursday's ceremony starts at 1 o'clock at the corner of Belmont and Lincoln Street. For the first time ever, Cirque du Soleil will be performing an on-ice show. For years, the company has amazed audiences with their performances, but the crew says this year will be even better. The show, Crystal, includes acrobatics and on-ice tricks. The performers are gymnasts who learned how to skate and skaters who learned acrobatics. Wednesday, they were at the DCU Center in Worcester rehearsing for 6 shows coming up this weekend starting Thursday.
Well, Crystal is the story of a character that doesn't seem like she fits somewhere, and she's always looking for a new world with new possibilities. And she discovers this new world by she ventures on a pond one day, and she breaks the ice and discovers this brand new surreal world where she dives at very high speed, and she becomes what she's destined to be, which is a confident and empowered person.
And again, the show is at the DCU Center starting this Thursday and runs until December 10th.